Can you hear us yet, Jen?
So I can hear you on the phone, which is working great. I still can't see you. I can't hear you. I think the problem is that my internet decided to do an update just before all of this, and I can't figure out what in the update might have caused this issue. But on the restream right now, all I see for Portanis is a black box and I don't hear anything. So it's causing us all these problems and I'm not able to see. So I'm really glad that you guys are able to see and hear both of us. But on my end, I'm not actually seeing or hearing Tanis on the screen. So we're going to play with it and see what we can figure out. And I'm hoping that we can make this work because I got Tanis on the phone here, but it's gonna be a little bit kind of back and forth, so let's see what we can do. If you guys can be patient with us, we're gonna try to make this work. Okay, let's see how we can do this. All right, so yeah, so actually, as of today, we're switching into the
Let's see how we
33.
can do this. All
Um,
right. So,
oh,
yeah. So actually, as of today, we're switching into the
let's see how we
33.
can do this.
All right. So,
Oh,
yeah. So actually, as of today,
I'm hearing that
we're
we're having
switching
audio
into the
issues.
33. All right. So,
oh,
yeah. So actually, as of today,
I'm hearing that we're having audio
into the
issues.
33. All right. So,
oh,
yeah. So actually, as of today,
I'm hearing that we're having audio
the
issues.
33. All right. So, yeah. So actually, as of today,
I'm hearing that we're having audio
the
issues.
33. All right. So, yeah. So actually, as of today,
I just keep hearing it over and over again.
all right. So, yeah. So actually, as of today,
I don't know. Maybe this is just. I don't know. Maybe this is just. I don't know. Maybe this is just. Oh, I think it stopped. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can I get a thumbs up if anybody can hear me or still see me? All right. Well, let's do the energy update, at least for today. Just because obviously the energies are a little all over the place. And you know what? It's really funny. And maybe it makes sense that, today is going to be a little wonky because we're in the 33. And the Gene Key 33 is about contemplation, going within. It's really that energy where we look at our own kind of inner world, right? And this includes the traumas that we've gone through, um, a lot of looking at, our inner private world, our memories, the insights and the wisdoms that we gain from becoming contemplative, that hermit kind of energy, and the lessons that we glean from that and from looking into that past energy and then being able to come to a place where um, we can find mindfulness in being able to recognize that you know we live in a society and working in mental health and all. I often have clients come in and downplay their trauma, say, oh well, it wasn't that bad. Oh, I know, I just have to get over it. I just have to move through it. It's okay. I just have to, like, let it go. Other people had it worse. We candy coat stuff. We think that forgiveness is this kind of thing that we just have to do and move on from. I don't see you, Tanis. I don't know if other people can see you. Um, But, I've heard everybody say that they can hear me, so I wanna go on with this because I think it's important even if we don't do anything else, because it is contemplative energy for this week. So even if we don't talk about it, um, it'd be good to get it out there for you guys. Uh, can you guys still hear me, though? Because I think Tanis is gone, and I don't know if I can still keep going if she's not here. Maybe I can. I don't know. Are we good to still keep going? I think she went out and is gonna come back in. which I think might be okay. The clock is still going, so I think we're good to keep going. Um, yeah. So it's really about finding that healing energy, right? And what does that mean, right? And so the gift part of this energy is about mindfulness, right? And what does that really mean, right? And mindfulness has become such kind of a key thing right now that people talk about, right? And so we think about, okay, well, what is mindfulness? Right. And, John Kabat-Zinn talks about mindfulness and this idea of, really being present in the moment without judgment. And I like how he adds this kind of like idea of accepting it, as if your life depended on it. And there is this component of it in that, we live so much of our lives in the past in kind of reliving it over and over again or worrying about the future and what that's going to look like. And we don't really stay mindful of what's happening in the moment. And there are going to be times where our past stories are coming up for us, and that's okay. That's normal. It happens. Or fears of the future are going to come in, and that's also okay. It's very, very normal, and it happens. Can we, in those moments, acknowledge, yeah, okay, this is normal, this happens. What's going on right now? Does this need my energy right now? If it does, I'll deal with it. If it doesn't, what do I need right now? Right? And maybe I need self-compassion, right? Maybe that's the healing that I need in this moment. Maybe what I need right now is to focus on whatever's happening in the moment, and it doesn't have anything to do with this past issue or this future issue. And that's okay too, right? But when we talk about healing, I think oftentimes we get caught up in these things that actually end up perpetuating our trauma. And we have to be really, really careful that we don't do that, right? And the mind can play all these kind of games and it wants to do all this stuff. And we end up down rabbit holes and we end up with this kind of toxic positivity and we end up doing all of these different things. Oh my goodness, I see you.
Hello.
And I hear you.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Hi, everyone.
Yay!
All right. Okay. So awesome. So can
Yay.
everybody else hear and see me now too? Okay, good.
Yay.
Thank you.
This is exciting.
All for your patience with all of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we thought it was Jen's, and maybe it was mine because nobody was seeing me, but I was seeing everybody and hearing everybody. So
Yeah, it
it
was
was
so
weird.
weird.
Anyway,
Yeah, I thought, oh, maybe it's like the update that happened, and maybe my computer's just being wonky, and I restarted it, and I was like, I don't
I have
understand. I
no
don't
idea.
know. But I'm glad, whatever it was, that it is
We got it
working
figured
now.
out.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. So
Mhm.
hello, welcome to Twillow Talk.
Yeah.
And where were you in your thing? Did you get
Yeah.
your
Well,
energy update done?
not quite, but basically, and we can keep talking about this a little bit more, but really just kind of looking at um, this idea of really paying attention to where we're at, right? Being in that mindfulness place, because when we're there, that's when revelation happens. And revelation is the siddhi of this energy that we're stepping into, right? And so as we allow ourselves the space to step into that energy, right? We allow ourselves to be seen. We allow ourselves to really be heard, right? Again, we're still in that throat energy. The transits right now are really keeping us there in that place of being able to tell our story. And again, the 33 connects to the 13, which is the self energy of that G center, that guidance center. And so it really is this place of bringing ourselves forward, right? And so taking that time to really go in to breathe, to allow the energy to flow through, to reflect, and to heal in the sense of allowing yourself space for whatever you need in that moment, right? However that shows up for you. And that's where that mindfulness piece really comes into play.
Yes. Mindfulness. Yeah. I mean, it's really, I have noticed this shift in the last week. It's been kind of interesting in terms of that. It's definitely a transition time for people. I find that a lot of people are having big changes happening in their lives. And, you're talking about revelations, but, it's also that revelations is clarity, right? So people are getting more clarity about what they want in their life, what they have in their life, and where that sort of disconnect is for them. So I think that's where some of the transitions are happening in terms of people's overall lives kind of thing, right? So what kind of transitions are you guys seeing, either with yourself or your clients, that kind of thing? And while you're putting that in the comments there, I'm going to say hello to a few people because we've been a little disconnected.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we say hello to everybody. So hello, Betsy. Nice to have you here. Thank you. And we have Arlene with us as well. Hello. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And we have Jacqueline. Hey, Jack. We have Gerald, of course, as well, right here. Hey, Gerald. Thank you all for sticking with us through all of this. I so appreciate that. It's amazing. And we did have David here at one point. So if you are still here, David, hello. Thank you for joining us. And we have Paradox Fossils. Alan. Hey, Alan. Thanks for joining us. We have Sylvia. Oh, towers of belief are falling all around me. All right. Yep.
Yeah.
That is kind of that revelations piece, right? We've got a lot of
really
that
good time
stuff.
for going in and contemplation and really paying attention to what's happening and having compassion.
Yes, exactly.
It's okay for that to be happening. You just have to be able to hold that space and allow it to do what it needs to do to, make room for something new to come in. Right?
Exactly. And breathing through it, right? It's like breathe, ground, and release, and then let go. Because we have to let that stuff sort of play out, right? So, hey, Tristan, thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. We have a hand wave. Alan, thank you. Yeah.
As just as a note for the hey-heys to everybody, if you're making hellos on my pages and for whatever reason it's not coming through, I tried to go through and change it all around and do the settings and everything else. But if you're saying hi and it's not coming through, flip on over to the YouTube channel and try it there. And if it's not working, jump onto Tanis's channels. They seem to be working just fine. But I apologize. I am not tech savvy and I am trying, but I don't know what's happening. So if you're there and you're sending out love and we're not responding, it's not because we don't love you. It's because we're not seeing it.
It is glitches indeed, Alan. I don't know what is going on today, but that is the day. That is the word of the day. We have glitches.
Good golly.
And we just got to laugh about it because what else can we do?
Right? There are days.
Yes, today is one of those. I know I've been feeling a very like kinetic, anxious-y kind of energy today and yesterday. So that would be what I'm feeling for people, right? Itches, yep. It creates itches. Yes. So yes. So Sylvia, the beliefs are all falling around you. And that is kind of what's happening on a global scale as well. So if we talk about that piece, we've got a lot of things changing in how we see the world. And that is all part of this bringing the dark stuff to the light, right? To clear it. Betsy says she's been spacey. Yes. So that's indicative. So when we have a high vibration space, you may notice this if you do ceremony and stuff like that, you get kind of that spacey feeling. So it's when you're in a high vibration space, you have that like spacey feeling because you're actually going into, what is it, theta? I think it's theta brainwaves when you're in high vibration space. And so that's kind of what's happening to us, but on a global scale. So the spaciness, the kind of, feeling really tired is also like kind of part of that. So you may have been feeling that. Some people find that they're very hungry, and that's because it's your body telling you need to ground. So when we eat and drink water and stuff, we're actually like helping to ground our energy. So that's just, if we listen to our body and find out exactly what it feels it's needing, it will help us to maneuver this. It's a lot of change that we're going through globally, as well as like my macro and micro levels. Everybody's going through change, whether it's and it's on all levels, right? Like a lot of us are going through changes in physical, a lot of us are going through changes in really? That's so cool. I can't say I tried to do that this morning.
Yeah. I didn't have that opportunity. That's
amazing.
Awesome.
It's okay. You'll get there. We're all going to get there in terms of vibing.
But the grounding piece is really important, and doing, earthing and stuff like that is also really, important. So getting out there, spending the time in nature if you can, as however that works for you is going to be a valuable tool.
They are indeed. Yeah. Yes. How have your animals been doing? Because I would suspect they're feeling it as well. So Jen has a lot of animals in the house at the moment. And this is why I asked the question. Her puppies have had puppies.
Oh my gosh. We have a lot of animals, and
she has 6 dogs at the moment.
they're all very there's a lot of energy going on right now. There's a lot of energy in the house. Yeah.
There you go. There's a suggestion. Maybe not to the dogs, but to the octopi. That would be good.
Yeah, that would work.
Yes, because what have you got going on there right now? You have 3 cats, you have 6 dogs, you have 3 rats.
Yeah, those are the ones in the house that we've, allowed in space.
Yes.
And then there's the, other ones that
she's out in the country too, so she has a lot of outer ones. She has deer that come and visit her every day, and all of that.
Deer and turkey and the shed cats and the turtles and the mink and the lake and the fish.
Tons.
They're all there. It's okay.
Hello, Oracles of Light. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
Lovely. But yeah, notice what's happening around you, right? And notice the vibrations of the animals and stuff, and what they're doing, and if they're around and if they're not, and how they're behaving and all of that, because it's all going to be, kind of signs of what's happening in the world around you. And if you're in the city and stuff like that, even just paying attention to the plants if you have a garden, and paying attention to, like just noticing Yeah, flocks of birds and squirrels and groundhogs, raccoons. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's beautiful.
And whereabouts are you, Alan? Oh, hawks and owls as well.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Jen's in Quebec, in Canada. Of course, I feed in water. Awesome.
Mhm.
Oh, you're in Missouri. Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Nice. All right. And Betsy, where are you? If you're playing with octopi, you must be somewhere a little bit more south from where we are. If you're still with us. Maui. Oh, okay. That explains it. Betsy's in
Nice.
Maui. Awesome. Great crowd.
Mhm.
So should we do a short discussion? Oh, she used to live in St. Louis.
Very cool.
That's neat. Put that up.
Very cool.
I think these two are both on the same platform, so they're seeing it. But
Mhm. Yeah. My only connection with St. Louis is a layover.
I have none. I don't think I've ever been there. I wonder what this
yeah.
means. Does this mean anything to you guys?
Yeah. We notice that we notice that just because there's a lot of people who are not always conscious and drive, and there's a lot of animals on the roads and things like that. So we notice that a lot around here. I don't know.
Sylvia's in the city, though. So, oh, he's work lurking.
Oh, okay.
What? Gerald's
Eating bread for the llamas.
for Lamas. It's our holiday tomorrow. It's not Lamas.
Oh.
It's Lamas. It's a
I
Wiccan
just put
holiday.
my glasses on. They're on the top of my head, but they're not on my face. So I'm like, oh. There we go.
It's our Sabbat. Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I get close to the computer. You guys see me squint and get really close when I'm trying to read sometimes. I should just wear them. I don't know why.
So Alan's only a day
I have
drive.
to clean them.
And we're about an hour from the border. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not so far.
Nice.
New Orleans. Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's definitely a sign of transformation, if anything. I think even if it is created by humans, I think that it's indicative that humans are not perhaps as aware or focused perhaps on the 3D as maybe we could be, because of all of the energy. I think, the feeling spacey and the feeling, tired and all of that stuff makes us less attentive in the 3D. So that's something too.
Well, and then there's also other reactions that people have too, right? Like for those of us who want to be on this journey, there's certain responses that we have. And then for those who don't want to be on this journey, but we're all going through it together.
Exactly.
Right? There's other responses that people have. And so, I was driving my kids down to town yesterday. Golly, the days are blurring sometimes. And we were driving down, and so the roads near me are very, very windy, and they're quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, because one side is a cliff that goes into the river, and the other side is a mountain that goes straight up. And we were coming around a curve, and a car was in our lane on a curve passing a motorcycle. And we had to like stop on the curve so that the car could get back into their lane to not hit the motorcycle and not hit us, right? So that they could keep going. And I just looked at my kids and I said, if we die today, I love you.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, and throughout that entire trip, there were about 4 incidents of people who I can't say what was happening for them or why they were driving the way that they were driving, but it was very scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, like not everybody is open to this change.
Yeah.
And not everybody is happy with the energies that are coming in. And so not everybody is receiving them in the same way.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a lot of anger in the world, and there is a lot of frustration in the world, and that is also coming through. And so when we look at some of the different things that happen or that are showing up, we have to be mindful that this energy impacts us on a molecular level, and we all are going to feel that in a different way, right?
Yeah.
And so even when we talk about like the transits and things like that and how they impact us, like that's all part of it. And so when we talk about healing and what that means, we have to realize that for those of us that are on the healing journey, we have this work to do, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to move towards that healing place. But for those who don't want that, these things are going to build and they're going to come out in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's part of this human process. And I'm not justifying it, and I'm not saying that it's okay, but we are going to come across those experiences.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy, and we're going to have to navigate them. And it's going to just be part of our process too, to figure out how we can navigate them in ways that work for us.
Yeah.
Right? But that's
And
still
attempting
hard.
to show compassion and understanding and kindness along the way too, right? So
Right. Because there are times where that happens and you go, what? Right?
because we're
you
human.
know,
We
yeah.
have all those human emotions like fear and
Mhm.
all of that stuff as well. So it's going to happen that we have reaction instead of
Oh,
response. So
oh, most definitely. Most definitely. But realizing that, there are days where those things, like we talk about, the itching, the glitching and the itching,
yeah,
right? But, there are days where, the whole body is vibrating,
yeah,
right? And if you don't realize, okay, like, yeah, this is just part of the process, you literally feel like you want to rip your skin off because it's too much,
yeah,
right? And then there's irritability, there's overstimulation, there's oversensitivity, like all of those things come into play. And so I just think that it's really important to recognize that, across the board, like we're talking about the animals and these things that are happening, you know, an across the board living beings on this planet, we're all experiencing things differently,
absolutely.
right? And we're all going to have to be adapting and changing,
Yeah.
and it's going to be an interesting next little while as we go through all of this.
Mhm. And I've heard from a lot of channels and stuff that like the next month is going to be intense. I guess there's going to be some more storms that happen and that sort of thing. So, it really is going to be important for us to be community, to support each other through all of this. I'm a big community girl, as you guys know, so it's important, I think, for all of us to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That we just need to support each other. And that Ram Dass thing always comes back for me, right? We're just walking each other home. So
Mm-hmm. Yes. Walking each other home. And, sometimes that's, the door next door, and sometimes that's quite a long journey. And sometimes we walk each other for, a little while, and sometimes we walk each other for quite some time. And I think that, also recognizing that there are going to be points along the journey that we have to walk ourselves. And there's going to be points along the journey where we want to walk alone, and we're going to have companionship for it, and it's just going to be the way it is.
And all of that's okay. We just have to be compassionate. Sorry, I'm having a little clearing of my throat chakra at the moment.
Yeah. And I think this is where, again, coming back to, even the transit that we're talking about right now, right? And this kind of energy of clearing trauma and clearing, a lot of that kind of past energy and the emotions that we hold in our body and stuff like that, with the energy shifting and what's happening, even that vibrational energy and the ability that it has to clear that, right? To really break up the dense energies that we hold, right? Allowing space for that, but really being compassionate with it and recognizing it's okay. And it's okay if we want to spend, some time processing it on our own. That's okay. And if at some point we, feel that we need to share that, that's okay. And if, somebody's there for us and we want to be alone, and they, like that Pooh and Piglet cartoon that goes around, and they just sit with us, that's okay. And if sometimes we have to sit on our own because that's what's there for us in that time, that's okay. Right? It's all part of the journey, and it's all okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we just have to remember that this is all, this too shall pass, right?
Mhm.
Even the energies that we feel, we have those days where I always call them my eggshell days, the ones where I'm like super raw and usually teary, either teary or a bit grumpy. One of those days, we just have to remember that we just need to be gentle with ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think we should pick a card just because I think we need whatever the mantra is. I don't know why, but that's what I'm getting. So I think we should pick a card for that. Because as you guys know, our usual...
We only kind of really started talking like 10 minutes before the end of it.
We've sort of been on 40 minutes, but really only talking for the last like 10 to 15. So as you all know, we usually pick a card from this deck. James Van Praagh, The Soul's Journey. So let's pick a card and have discussion, because that's what our usual modus operandi. Okay. Indecision. I use my intuition in all aspects of life.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that's beautiful about this is the purple for the crown chakra and the red for the root chakra in this card. So connecting, as above, so below, kind of connecting that stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Mm.
So indecision, using intuition. So what does that mean for you guys? What's your most, your strongest intuitive, where do they come from? Your strongest intuitive pulls, where do they come from? I think for me, it's clairaudience and clairvoyance. Although clairsentience certainly is up there too. So yeah. So those are mine. How about you, Jen?
Yeah. I would have to say it's a tough one.
You're
Um,
definitely strong clairvoyance.
yeah, I think for me, I would say I either just I feel it or I know it more than I hear it or see it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but you have the others. They're
oh
just
yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, like
yeah,
that those are the
those are the
more those
stronger.
than yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, and I have to, the thing I love about that card is the moment, indecision, right? Because this idea of, the moment that we have to think it through or figure it out, is the moment we know we're
We're
we're in
not using
trouble.
our intuition.
Well, the mind, because truly the mind can justify anything.
Yeah.
It can explain away anything. It can prove a point towards any side, anything.
Mhm.
Right? And so the moment that we're in a place of, I have to use the mind to figure it out.
Yeah, that never goes well for me. I mean, and that's not to say that, I can't use my mind, but it's never I end up very indecisive when I try to figure it out. That is what happens for me. If I go with my gut, I can be decisive and I know I'm just following my intuition and I can just go. As soon as I try to figure it out,
Yeah.
it doesn't go well for me. So,
Yeah.
because I
One of
just
the
get
ways
indecisive.
I find that for me, and I don't know if this works for everybody else too, but when we're trying, like when there's a problem to solve or an issue to resolve, I find if we have to talk about it, because some people have to like talk it out or figure it out. If we have to sit down and actually talk it through, I find I get very jumbled and I have a really hard time working it through. But if I'm allowed to walk away from it, at one point I'll just, okay, I got it and we're good to go.
Yeah. That's kind of like what
Right?
Betsy's saying here too, right?
Yeah.
Who she
I
had
finally learned that
clairaudience and
lesson.
claircognizance. So for her, I've finally learned that when I don't know what to
Yes,
say or
Betsy,
do,
yes.
to wait. As things sift
Yeah.
through me, the answer comes. Yeah.
Yes, Betsy. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love it, love it, love it.
And for Gerald, it's claircognizance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not good at waiting. Well, again, that comes back to the human design piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm supposed to wait. So
Yeah. Well, that's the
Betsy's probably
emotional
like that too,
authority.
right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with the emotional authority, right? Because there is no knowing in the now. There's not a concrete, I mean, when there's an emotion involved, right? Like obviously, like there is the ability to know something in the moment, but when there's an emotional pull with it, it's very hard to know in the moment.
Gerald says, ignore my flower-covered spelling. Because he's kneading bread while he's listening, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And Betsy says,
damage
me neither, Gerald. I'm tired of needing damage control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what happens, right? When we don't follow the correct authority for us, we end up living in damage control.
Yeah.
Because we're jumping on things, the mind is jumping in, we're not following our correct decision-making strategies, and we're kind of running amok. And that can become really problematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And we end up, getting all of the guideposts, signposts that show us that, things aren't going correctly, and we wonder, what's wrong and why is this happening and why is that happening, and we end up really, frustrated or angry, or dissatisfied, or in the projector side, bitter,
Mm-hmm.
because, we're not living in that correct strategy and authority place. And yet, if we allow space for ourselves to really honor that, then that's where we find that flow. You know, those moments where you're like, everything just flowed and it was so great, and and if we
Yeah.
replay it, you know, I'd be really interested to see, you know, what did you do differently in that moment? How did things show up differently for you, right? And almost every time I talk to somebody and they explain those flow moments, and then I look at their chart, I'm like, oh, interesting. Right? And it's because it was in alignment
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And Betsy says she used to live on knee-jerk responses and having lots of knee pain issues.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm.
I have to say that probably would have been me as well. Now that you say that, because I did used to have bad knees. They're still not great, but they're not as painful there, knock on wood, as they have been. And I think it is because I've started to kind of listen to my authority a little bit more and wait. But I find sometimes it's with the waiting, I have to be careful that I don't step into not procrastination, but like making a decision by not making a decision.
Mhm.
You know, because that can be just as detrimental depending on what that is about. So
Yeah. Well, it's not about not making a decision, right? Like, even with an emotional authority, it's not about never making the decision. It's about waiting for clarity,
right.
right? And clarity comes when you allow yourself, and this is the key, when you allow yourself to have the full emotional wave,
Right.
right? The problem is that we tend to squash our emotion and not let ourselves feel. And we push them down and we say, no, no, no. Oh, I'll deal
Not
with
today,
it
thanks.
later. Not today. I've got too much to do. I can't feel it right now. Right. And so for an emotional authority, that's problematic, because if you don't allow yourself to feel the wave, that clarity can't come.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is it just feels awful when you push it down, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I end up with anxiety and stuff, and just because I'm not letting myself feel whatever it is. So, that was during my knee issue days. I was having that because I would just not pay attention.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always going to be times when we don't, right? Or when we have to control the emotion, And I think what I try to do, anyways, is when I'm in my meditative state. I come home and I do my meditation at the end of the day, and I try to make sure that I allow myself that moment to feel the emotions from the day and be like, interesting day.
Mhm.
Not sure how I'm going to process this. And then all of a sudden I process it, and then I can be like, okay, that feels better. Now I can sleep. So, the power of doing the meditative practice and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people need to sort of write it down, the pros and cons and stuff, but that's like figuring it out, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And we have a Facebook user, which is showing up.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I'm just going to go to the group because that's usually where it is, so that we see who we're talking to.
Mhm.
Estella. Hello, Estella. Thanks for
Hello,
joining
hello.
us.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true, Betsy, failing to choose is still a choice.
Yeah.
And it is. And it's interesting that the solar plexus in human design is the one responsible for emotional authority, and you either have it or you don't. If you have the solar plexus defined, you have emotional authority. If you don't have it defined, you don't have emotional authority. Just it is what it is. It's like the prime one. And so it's interesting because if you have it, you have to let yourself have ride the emotional wave before you have clarity in order to make a decision. If you don't have it, you're amplifying emotions all over the place. You're picking up emotions all over the place. You still have to let yourself ride that wave. You have to let the emotions come through and out before you have clarity, because otherwise you're making decisions based on emotions that aren't even really necessarily yours, right? So there's all this kind of stuff going on for everybody emotionally all of the time. So, this piece about emotions is so important for everybody.
Yeah.
Across the board, right? And so when we talk about developing our intuition, trusting our intuition, as Sylvia asks, it's really, really important to know if we're defined or not.
Yeah.
Because if we're defined, we have to go through that to really feel the full wave of our own unique emotions, to have that clarity for ourselves. If we're undefined, we have to process through all of the emotions to get rid of them so that we can feel into whatever other aspect of our authority it is that we're getting that intuition piece from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So both ways we have to process through the emotions. We just have to do it slightly differently.
Right.
Right? But then we're still going to tap into all of these things together.
Yeah.
Right? So we're still going to have all the clairs and all these different pieces that we tap into, and they're all going to still come for all of us. Right?
Yeah.
But we just process them a little bit differently. So it's such a beautiful thing, because even though there's all of these kind of universal things, they're still so unique. And we each feel them uniquely and experience them in our own way. And it's beautiful.
It is. And for me,
Right.
I would say, when I'm tapping into my intuition, for me, it's usually my first reaction to it is more intuitive. When I start to think about it, that's when I'm not in my intuition anymore. So that's how I started to develop, was by just, what's the first thing? And even if I didn't act on it right away, I wanted to bring myself to notice what the first thing was, so that I could later on go back and say, so my intuition told me this, I did that, I should have done this. Because then that's how you start to trust that, oh yeah, I guess my intuition was telling me the right thing. So we don't always succeed at listening to it, but if we can be aware of what's coming in, I think that's a good starting space.
Yeah.
Just want to say a big hello to Pirat. Thank you for joining us, Pirat. It's good to have you. So yeah, I would say that's, and then you start to have like confirmation, I would say, you start to be aware of it. Then something happens and you're like, oh, okay. So that was right. And so then the more that happens for you, the more you start to trust it. You have to develop trust, right? With your intuition, with your guides, all of that. So it's just tapping in regularly and being aware. At least that's been my experience with it.
Yeah. And I find sometimes the best way of learning how to follow it is by making mistakes.
We certainly remember it more, don't we?
Yeah. The moment that you go, oh, that's what that was, I didn't listen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Noted for next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. And it's okay.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Estella.
we make a choice, and it leads us one way, and then we make a choice and it leads us another, and it's all okay. But there have definitely been moments, even just simple driving ones, where it's like, turn. And you're like, oh, I don't want to go that way, and you just go, like, and then you sit in traffic and you go, oh, I should have turned.
I should have gone that way.
I should have turned there. Oh well.
Have you ever followed your intuition and found something? Yes, you had that with your house, didn't you? You followed your intuition and found the house. And I did it one time. I didn't have the address for a friend's place. I'd been there once, but like months and months ago. I couldn't remember it. So I like said to the guides, okay, you need to show me where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up right across the street from his house.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome. And Gerald says, it's important to be in the moment so we can learn from our mistakes. Sometimes I'm not in the moment and I miss the lesson, which in and of itself is the lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing is,
Indeed.
the universe is so patient.
They are. Unconditional love.
If we don't get the lesson right away, it's okay. We will be given ample opportunity to get it over and
We will.
over and over again. And I know
Just
that
like
from
Spirit telling me
experience.
not to work on my birthday. We had a power outage. I had planned, I was going to catch up on this and catch up on this and catch up on this. And we had an over 24-hour power outage the other day. So I did not work on my birthday because I could not work on my birthday. Spirit's way of telling me.
You weren't supposed to work.
Take a break. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They work in mysterious ways.
Yeah, we're really blatant ones.
That was pretty blatant. Mm-hmm. No, exactly. I did not, because I could not. So I did not. I did do a podcast on my phone, which was an interesting. If you check out open mic, Ramsey and I did open mic. I had trouble getting in because I've never done it on my phone, but we managed to get the show in on my phone. So I did. I mean, it's sort of worked, but this has never really worked for me. This is fun when I'm on talking to you guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is good. This isn't work. This is lovely.
Exactly. This is like hanging out with friends. This is cool.
Yeah, but I mean, it's happened so many times where it's like, oh, just go here, and suddenly you meet somebody, or you run into someone, or you find something you've been looking for a while, or
Absolutely.
or sometimes you don't know what happens. You just
Mhm.
go and you leave, and it is what it is.
Well, that happened to me one time, and so much to share. Of course, we've got lots to share, and we're happy to share with you and have you share with us as well. Yeah,
I'd
it
love
happened to me
hear
one
as
night.
we're sharing any stories you guys have of following your
Exactly.
intuition and
Exactly.
having some
I was coming home from like an essential oil party, actually, in Quebec, in Gatineau, and I have to drive by the Gatineau casino to come home, and it's like, I don't know, it's like 10 o'clock on a Thursday night or something. So I'm just like on my way home, and I'm like wanting to go home, and the guides were like yelling at me to go and stop at the casino. I was like, I want to stop at the casino, but they were very insistent. Next thing I knew, I found myself pulling off to go to the casino. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'm supposed to win some money. Maybe that's why I'm going to the casino. So I go, and I'm like, okay, if you want me to win money, I'm going to put this in, but that's all I'm putting in. I didn't win, but they kept telling me to continue to walk around. They're like, okay, walk. I'm like, okay. So I would walk, and I'd stop, and they'd be like, okay, walk that way. I'm like, okay. So I would go. Finally, I ended up standing beside somebody at, like, I don't know whether there's a craps table or a blackjack or something. It was like there was a couple, and they were playing, and they were like, okay, stop. I'm like, okay. And I stood there for a minute, and I'm feeling a little bit awkward because I'm not playing, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, you can go now. And I was like, what? That's it? That's all I'm here for? And I realized that it's likely because I had to go and do a bit of energetic stuff there, right? Whether it was bring light or clear or whatever I was doing that was on the other dimensional frequencies as opposed to this one. But I needed to be there to do it. So, sometimes when we follow our intuition, we don't know why we're there.
No.
So you need to trust that you're there for a reason, even if you're not aware what it is.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we have been talking close to an hour now. We've at least been on for an hour now.
I think we've been on since it's been actually working, which is great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have anything that you want to sum up in terms of indecision?
Yeah. I think one, it's okay. Indecision is okay. It's okay to not know. And I think we get really caught up in we have to know, we have to figure it out, we have to have the answers. It's okay. It's okay to not know. We don't have to play the what if game. That's a really dangerous game to
Oh,
play.
yeah, I don't like that game.
It's okay, right? It's okay to be in that place of uncertainty, especially if you have an open head center, an open ajna, specifically to not have to have all the answers, to not have to have a very specific way of thinking or understanding something. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to not know how to fix everything. It's okay. And especially for the energies right now, right? We're in the gate 33. It's about this kind of energy of working through. And, we don't have to jump right to fixing it. We have to hold space for it to have its process.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I think indecision is such a beautiful card for that, right? For the gate that we have right now. Because if we can stay in that place and allow space for mindfulness, we can move to revelation, which is that intuitive knowing. So it's so perfect. So between now and August 5th, hold space for indecision and see what happens.
Indecision. I use my intuition in all aspects of life. The other thing, it's okay to change your mind. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thank you so much, Sylvia. Thank you for joining us. I want to say thank you to all of you for your patience for the beginning of the show and sticking it in with us while we got going today. Hopefully we'll be better track on that next time. And we trust it happened for a reason. So somewhere along the way, it was for a reason. So we thank the spirit for the messages and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we thank all you for sharing your lovely energy and comments. And we're going to sign off right now. Don't forget to join Michelle and I on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. For our messages, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And and we are looking forward to a wonderful long weekend here. So we wish you tons of love and light. Wishing you lots of love, guys. Have a good one. Bye for now.